My 33-year-old female, am married to a 38-year-old female, and I have a twin brother, M. For info, I also have two other sisters aged 27 and 36, and another brother who is 30. I've been with my wife for 7 years, and a few years ago, we decided to start a family. Since my wife was a bit older and we thought it might be cool to have kids as biologically similar to me, we asked M if he would be A's sperm donor. He was engaged at the time to his husband J, 39. Yes, that's right, we're both the gay members of the family. And both J and M were fine with it, as long as there was no legal bearing on either of them, so they would just be uncles. Neither of them wanted children. A and I got really lucky, and within a year had our own set of twins, a boy named P and a girl named L. However, now we have an issue. M and J got married not long after they agreed to the above, and please bear in mind we had no official writing or agreement. It was just by word of mouth. M and J have been amazing uncles, and this has spurred both of them wanting to start their own family. And so, a few weeks ago at a family gathering, they announced their plans to become parents. The family was, of course, very excited. However, what I did not expect was M and J to then announce that I would be their surrogate. This totally knocked the wind out of my sails, as they had not even spoken to me about it. Of course, my family was all extremely excited, and I felt my protests were unheard with all of the excitement of the situation unfolding. A and I left shortly after. Later that day, I called M and asked what the hell was going on. He said that since he helped us have our children, it's only fair for us to help them have their children. Yes, children. And they assumed I would be the better choice, as A had already given birth and given her age, it would be safer for me to carry. I said no, I would not be doing that. I have never wanted to be pregnant. The idea really freaks me out. And I told him that donating sperm and giving birth to children is completely different. We got into a huge fight. Half of my family has sided with him, and the other half are with me. I do feel like he has spun a narrative where I have already agreed to it and am suddenly retracting my offer, but it is simply not true. What also worries me is when he got angry during our fight, he said something along the lines of, "Well, if you don't do this, your kids are mine anyway, and they're not even yours," which was obviously really scary and upsetting for me. I want to know if I'm being unreasonable, though, so am I the idiot? Edit. Few things have been mentioned, but I thought I would just update with a bit of further info. And wow, was not expecting to get so many responses. I'm doing my best to read and respond in between work, being a mom, etc. 1. I wish this was fake, trust me. 2. I know I was an absolute idiot not to do a paper trail with this. My wife suggested at the time we do so, but Em and I have always been best friends, so I just did not see this coming, and we just wanted to do it as straightforward as possible. I know, dumb. 3. As far as any kind of paper trail, his name is not on the birth certificate. This was as per his and Jay's request at the time. Yes, the kids are legally adopted as mine. I at least did that much. 4. Since talking with my sisters and parents more, it seems there is more to the story as far as what has been said behind my back about me being a willing participant. I am asking to have a family meeting ASAP with Jay's parents too for my wife and me to put things straight. 5. I did offer to donate my eggs reluctantly when he started kicking off. I said that would be at least somewhat fair, even though this whole situation is definitely not. He said he would still have to find someone to carry, which is not fair. 6. My wife will not be doing pregnancy again. The twins were a super tough pregnancy and she nearly died, and we nearly lost one of the kids. So no, not an option. 7. I didn't know you can't surrogate if you haven't given birth before. Thank you to those who pointed that out. I will be bringing this up. 8. I do think there is more going on. This is absolutely and completely out of his character. We have always been super close and had a great relationship. I really want to talk to him on my own, and will try to do so once things have hopefully cooled off a bit. Number 9. Yes, we will be seeking legal advice. 10. When Em agreed to donate, we just wanted it to be as straightforward as possible. We decided to try the old turkey baster method to start with, and A fell pregnant after the second try. So other than hospital visits, etc., there wasn't a clinic involved. 11. In case it wasn't clear, M and J want to use J's sperm and my eggs so that the kids would be as biologically close to M as possible, the same way my kids are as biologically close to me as possible. More so because we are twins. If at the time M had said no, I would have asked my other brother, and if he had also said no, we would have just gone to the sperm bank. 12. The kids are still very young, but we have always wanted to be open and honest about who their bio-dad is, as and when the time was right. I will try to keep you posted as things progress, and thank you all for the support. It seems I'm not the idiot, but I will take the being a big idiot. And to the cowards who are private messaging me, calling me selfish, and that they hope my brother gets full custody of my kids, I hope you're okay. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. Donating sperm and being pregnant for 9 months and then going through labor are two totally different things. Brother's body was not affected the way yours would be if being a surrogate. This is an apples to oranges comparison. Your body, your choice. Comment 2. You can't be a surrogate as you have not given birth. A surrogate has to have had a pregnancy to term with a live birth, or the fertility clinic will not accept you. You could have issues that won't come to light until you are pregnant. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the comments and advice on my last post. It's been a wild couple of weeks, and I've got a lot to update you on. So, after the last family gathering, things went from bad to worse. A and I tried to have that family meeting we talked about, but it turned into a huge mess. M and J's parents were there, and it felt like everyone was ganging up on us. They kept saying how we owed it to M and J to help them have a family, just like they helped us. But they didn't seem to get that donating sperm and carrying a baby are two very different things. During the meeting, M brought up the past, reminding everyone how close we used to be. He talked about how we'd always supported each other, like when he came out and our parents weren't exactly supportive. I was there for him, just like he was there for me when I met A. But this was different, and I couldn't believe he was using our history to guilt trip me. A was furious. She reminded everyone about her difficult pregnancy with P and L, and how she almost didn't make it. She said there was no way she'd go through that again, and that I shouldn't have to either. But M just wouldn't listen. He kept saying that we were breaking his heart, that we were denying him the chance to be a father. The worst part came when Jay lost his temper. He said some things that I can't even repeat here about how A and I were selfish and how we didn't deserve our kids. That's when A stood up and told them that if they couldn't respect our decision, we'd have to reconsider how much we wanted them in our lives and in our kids' lives. After that, things got really quiet. You could have heard a pin drop. Then M said something that I'll never forget. He said that if we didn't help them, he'd fight for custody of P and L. He said that since he was the biological father, he had rights too. That's when I realized that our relationship with M and J might never be the same again. A and I left the meeting feeling heartbroken. We talked about it for hours, trying to figure out what to do. We decided to talk to a lawyer, just to make sure we knew where we stood legally. The lawyer reassured us that M had no legal rights to P and L, but suggested we get everything in writing, just in case. The next few days were tough. Half the family was still on M and J's side, and the other half was supporting us. It felt like we were being torn apart. Our parents tried to stay neutral, but I could tell they were struggling too. Then a few days ago, M came over to talk. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He said he was sorry for everything, that he didn't mean what he said about fighting for custody. He said he was just scared that he'd never be a father, and that he let that fear turn into anger. I wanted to forgive him, I really did, but it was hard to forget the things he'd said. I told him that A and I needed some time to think about everything, and that we couldn't make any promises. Since then, things have been tense. A and I are trying to focus on our kids and each other, but it's hard not to think about what's happened. We're still talking to the lawyer just to be safe, and we're trying to figure out how to move forward with our family, whatever that looks like now. Now for the next story. This is my first post, so I apologize if it's not written to Reddit standards. My girlfriend, 25 years old, and I, 28 years old, have a history of liking to get real intimacy and comfortable in the car, but never actually having intimacy. To be honest, I don't feel quite comfortable with intimacy in the car since it's a little cramped even though it's one of those full-size sedans. Anyways, when we first got together, she was still a virgin. Before we had intimacy for the first time, she got really aroused in the car and tried to initiate. I told her no because you don't want your first time like this. Trust someone who has lost their virginity, especially for women. Sorry if this sounds sexist. You want a nicer environment, it's better that way. Fast forward a few months later, we've had intimacy, and wow, she has a high intimacy drive, almost as high as mine, which is really nice for a change. I love her very dearly. In the car, she really likes dirty talk, asking me to frick her from all sorts of positions, wants me to be rough, etc. This has gone on for months, but I've never acted on it and actually initiated intimacy in the car. Recently, for some reason, it felt different. She was getting more persistent and asking me to frick in a more affirmative way, even asking me if I have any condoms on me, which I never do. Keep in mind, I'm actually still a little uncomfortable, but I do want her to be satisfied. So I went and got condoms one day and kept them in the car. She finds out the next day and her eyes literally light up. But I actually see a little hesitation, so I said, hey, maybe let's just not do it. She nods and that's the end of it. The next time we're in the car, she's aggressive again, asking for intimacy. I repeatedly ask her if she's sure. She says yes and eventually got a little pissed and said to me, why do you keep asking? Don't you want it? I take this as the surefire yes, and we have intimacy in the back seat. Even during the act, I repeatedly ask if she ever wants to stop. On the way home, she's quiet and I can feel something wrong. I text her that night, asking if everything is okay, and she said no. She said she doesn't feel loved and that it was a terrible experience. She said I promised her back then we would never have intimacy in the car, but I did anyways, and it violated her trust. First of all, I said no to losing virginities in the car, so I don't know how that got mistranslated. And second of all, verbally, she's been begging for it, and I've repeatedly tried to confirm if this is what she wants. She had all the right to stop at any moment in time. But now, all the blame is on me. I feel terrible that she didn't have a good time, and I honestly didn't enjoy it myself either. I'm super paranoid about this whole consent thing, and I'm afraid I just wrapped my girlfriend because she didn't want it after it happened. How should I have known that verbal and physical confirmation was not enough? Anyways, I apologize profusely and say it will never happen again. Meanwhile, the guilt is literally ending the life of me. She offers no acknowledgement and said she just needs time, which I told her to take as much as she needs. She's then acted distant for about a week before saying she forgives me and goes back to her verbally sex-crazed self in front of me. But honestly, I'm a little traumatized. I haven't been willing to have intimacy for about a month now because I just don't feel safe anymore, and she's getting annoyed. I guess there are two etas here. Am I the idiot for letting intimacy happen in the car? Am I the idiot for being paranoid and feeling unsafe about intimacy now? Update. Thank you for all the helpful comments. I had a confrontation and got some closure. She was willing to take some responsibility, so I guess that's a good direction. The next step is really figuring out if this relationship is still the right thing for both of us. To be perfectly honest with everyone and myself, I'm not a stud or what most people consider as attractive, and I don't have the best game. I'm self-conscious and I'm afraid to end up old and alone. It sounds pitiful, but that's the truth. So I'll be trying my best with the relationship before throwing in the towel. For those claiming this is fake, I don't know how to offer proof, but hopefully this doesn't happen to you or your friends. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Not the idiot. She sounds unstable, to be honest. I would be thinking about carefully extracting myself from this relationship if I were in your shoes. Comment 2. She begs you for it and then gets mad at you as if you forced her into it. This is just ridiculous. Now for the update. Hey, everyone. Thanks for the support and advice on my last post. It's been a wild week and I've got some updates that I think you'll find pretty interesting. So, after the whole car intimacy debacle, things between my girlfriend and I were tense, to say the least. I was still feeling guilty, and she was acting like nothing happened. It was like we were stuck in this weird limbo where neither of us knew how to move forward. I mean, we've been together for a while now, and I thought I knew her pretty well. She's always been the more adventurous one, pushing boundaries and trying new things. I admired that about her, but now I was second-guessing everything. A few days ago, we were at her place, just hanging out and watching a movie. It was one of those nights where we were both pretending everything was normal. But then, out of nowhere, she paused the movie and turned to me with this serious look on her face. She admitted that she had been feeling really insecure about our relationship. She thought that by being more aggressive and asking for intimacy in the car, it would somehow make me more attracted to her. It was a shock to hear that because I've always been head over heels for her. I mean, I've had my own insecurities, but I never doubted my feelings for her. We talked for hours, and she confessed that she felt pressured to keep up with my high intimacy drive. I was floored. I never wanted her to feel like she had to compete or be someone she wasn't. I guess we both had been hiding our true feelings, trying to be what we thought the other person wanted. It was a real eye-opener. But here's where things get even crazier. She told me that she had been talking to her ex-boyfriend. Yeah, the same ex who cheated on her and treated her like crap. I couldn't believe it. She said they had been texting for a couple of weeks and that he had been apologizing for the past and trying to make amends. She assured me that it was nothing serious, just closure for her. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I tried to be understanding. After all, we all have pasts, and sometimes we need to deal with them to move on. But the more I thought about it, the more it ate away at me. I remembered how she used to tell me stories about her ex, how manipulative he was, and how he always knew exactly what to say to get her to forgive him. It was like a punch in the gut. Then, 2 nights ago, I decided to surprise her with dinner at her place. I had this whole plan to talk things out and really work on our relationship. But when I got there, her ex's car was parked outside. My heart sank. I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I went up to her apartment and knocked on the door. No answer. I could hear voices inside, so I knocked again, louder this time. She opened the door, looking surprised and a little guilty. Her ex was sitting on the couch, looking way too comfortable for my liking. I didn't know what to do. I just stood there, holding the bag of takeout, feeling like a complete idiot. She tried to explain, saying that he was just leaving and that it wasn't what it looked like, but I couldn't hear her over the sound of my own heart breaking. I left without saying a word, and I've been trying to process everything since then. I haven't spoken to her, and I don't know if I can. I feel betrayed and confused. I thought we were trying to fix things, but now I don't know what to believe. It's like the more I try to understand, the less sense it makes. Now for the next story. I, 24-year-old female, developed a fever, stuffy nose, headache, and cough over the course of one day yesterday. I tested for infection 19 twice, and they came back negative. So sorry if this doesn't make much sense, but I'm trying my best. Anyway, there are layers to this story. My husband, 25-year-old male, is unwelcome in my parents' home for a dumb reason, but they're sticking to it, so they expected me to be coming for Christmas alone, our first Christmas as a married couple. I feel an immense amount of guilt for not wanting to go there anyway, but over Thanksgiving I did get sick, and I canceled going home then too. Canceling Thanksgiving was bad enough. They didn't take it well at all. The last time I had been home, my mom told me to get out and not come back. That was in October. I was there to celebrate my birthday. My dad told me verbatim, if I don't wake up at their house on Christmas morning, our relationship will be severely damaged. But in my opinion, it already is. So what do I have to lose? In the same conversation, he also said that even when separated, my mom and him never spent a holiday apart. But they're expecting me to do that? I work a full-time job, Christmas Day being my only day off, so I'm expected to be at work Tuesday. My parents live 3 hours away from my husband and I, so I would have no choice but to only go for the day in order to be back for work at 8:30 the next morning. I also simply just do not want to go, especially without my husband. I feel like they are still trying to put the same expectations on me as I had growing up and even in college. But I am a married adult now and feel as though they have to accept the changes that come with that. I guess to put it simply, am I the idiot? Am I the jerk for not going home for Christmas for many reasons? Edit to add. I called my parents to tell them that I am sick, and my dad said, "Go figure, I knew that this was going to happen," even though I never said yes or no to coming. Also, my husband has tried multiple times to reach out and talk to them to try and fix it, but they will not reciprocate. Another edit to put in the actual post what happened between my parents and husband, I guess. From the explanation we were given, it's because we made the decision to cancel our wedding. We were paying for the entire wedding, which we were fine with. Anything we wanted was a no-go, and everything my mom wanted was okay. She would do anything from purchasing decor to literally booking the venue and then ask us for the money back. So we decided to cancel it. We made plans months in advance to go to the courthouse and get married with the intention of having a celebration later. We changed the date of the courthouse ceremony to accommodate their plans that they had, whatever those were. The day came and they didn't show up, no explanation, and didn't answer their phones. They're essentially mad that we got married without them and blame it entirely on my husband. Another edit to clarify. My husband doesn't like anything having to do with Christmas. When he was 12, his house burned down on Christmas Eve night, and he came home the next morning to nothing. Ever since then, his family will give gifts and use it as an opportunity to party. He particularly hates Christmas because he was at an age where he understood exactly how much it affected his family and tried to hide and protect that from his younger brother. So he offered to drive me over to their house, but I am not willing to go if they will not let him in. He's not sitting in the car while I do Christmas with my parents and sister. Not an option. Just like me, going without him was never really an option outside of the immense guilt I was feeling early this morning. Update: I've just gotten off the phone with my mother. She yelled at me for 9 minutes saying the following. 1. I'm not actually sick. I very clearly am sick just by my voice, but okay, because everyone has a little sniffle right now. I have a 101-degree fever. 2. This is the drama that encircles my name. 3. She's tired of me ripping her heart out. 4. I basically just said a giant F you to my whole family. 5. I don't care about my family because I won't get in my car and drive there. So it looks like I most definitely will not even be compromising and driving over for a few hours. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Why would you even consider going? Are they paying your bills or something else? I cannot fathom accepting this treatment. Why didn't you hang up on your mother? Comment 2. If my wife was not welcome at my parents', I would not be there. So stay home. Why is he not allowed at your parents' house? Now for the update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I'm still reeling from the events of the past 3 days. I've been trying to wrap my head around everything, and honestly, it's been tough. I've been sick, and the situation with my family has only gotten worse. After my last conversation with my mom, I was emotionally drained. I thought things couldn't get any more strained, but I was wrong. My dad, who had always been the more level-headed one, called me the next day. His voice was cold, a tone I wasn't used to hearing from him. He said that my absence on Christmas would be the final straw, and that if I didn't show up, I shouldn't bother calling them family anymore. I couldn't believe it. The man who taught me the importance of understanding and forgiveness was now giving me an ultimatum. Meanwhile, my husband, who had been nothing but supportive, was dealing with his own feelings of rejection. He had reached out to my parents again, trying to mend fences, but they wouldn't even take his calls. It was like they had completely written him off, and by extension, me too. I remembered how he had stood by me when we canceled our wedding, how he had held me when I cried about my parents not showing up at the courthouse. He had been my rock, and now my parents were asking me to abandon him on our first Christmas together. The next day, things took an even more dramatic turn. My sister, who had been silent throughout this whole ordeal, sent me a text. She said she had overheard my parents talking about how they planned to teach me a lesson by cutting me off financially. I was stunned. I had been financially independent since I graduated college, but they had always helped out in emergencies. The idea that they would use money as a weapon against me was shocking. That evening, my fever spiked, and my husband rushed me to the ER. It turned out I had a severe case of the flu. The doctor said I needed to rest and definitely couldn't travel. When I told my parents, they accused me of lying to get out of visiting. They said I was always looking for excuses and that I was ruining Christmas for everyone. I hung up the phone, feeling utterly defeated. But the real bombshell dropped the following day. My mom called, her voice shaking with anger. She said she knew I had been planning to skip Christmas all along and that my sickness was just a convenient excuse. She claimed she had proof, a picture of me out shopping when I was supposed to be sick in bed. I was floored. The picture was from weeks ago when I had been running errands for work. I tried to explain, but she wouldn't listen. She said she was done with me and that I was no longer welcome in their home. I spent the rest of the day in bed, trying to process everything. My husband sat with me, holding my hand, telling me we would get through this together. I knew he was right, but the pain of my family's rejection was almost too much to bear. I couldn't understand how things had gotten so out of hand, how my parents could be so unforgiving. As I lay there, I thought about all the happy memories I had with my family, about how much I had wanted to share those traditions with my husband. And now, it seemed like those memories were tainted, overshadowed by the hurtful words and actions of the past few days. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.